I looked under my bed. Big mistake. You know that sinking feeling you get when you realize something is horribly wrong, but you can't yet put your finger on it? That's where my story begins. At first, everything seemed completely normal, just an ordinary day in my ordinary life. But it didn't take long before I started noticing the cracks, little signs that the people around me weren't quite what they seemed. I should probably introduce myself before I go any further. My name's Name, and I've never been one for drama. I'm not the type who goes looking for trouble, and I'm definitely not the type who believes every creepy story you find online. I've always told myself that real life is boring compared to the wild stuff people post on Reddit or horror movies. But looking back, I wish my life had stayed boring. It was late in the afternoon, one of those hazy, golden hours where the sunlight spills through your window just right. I was at home, sitting cross-legged on my couch, scrolling through my phone and mindlessly sipping a lukewarm cup of coffee. Outside, the street was quiet, just the distant hum of cars, a faint breeze rustling the trees. Peaceful. Safe. Or at least, it should have been. That's when I noticed it, the first tiny, almost invisible detail that would end up changing everything. It started with a sound. Not loud, not even alarming, just strange. A faint scratching noise, like nails lightly dragging along wood, coming from somewhere in the apartment. I paused, coffee cup halfway to my lips, and listened. It stopped. Now, I live alone, so I don't exactly get a lot of random noises in my place, especially ones that sound deliberate. I told myself it was probably nothing. Maybe the neighbor's cat. Maybe the building's settling. Still, I got up, set my coffee down, and began slowly walking toward the sound. The apartment felt different as I moved through it. Not colder, but heavier somehow, like the air itself had thickened. My footsteps seemed too loud against the hardwood floor. I passed the hallway mirror and caught a glimpse of myself. But for just a second, it looked like my reflection's eyes moved before I did. I froze. My heart gave one hard thud, and I leaned closer, staring into the glass. My reflection looked perfectly normal. Messy hair, tired eyes, the usual. But the unease was still there, gnawing at the edges of my mind. I told myself I was overreacting, but the scratching sound came again. Louder this time. Closer. And that's when I made my first mistake. I went to investigate. I moved toward the sound slowly, every creak of the floorboard making my stomach tighten. My apartment isn't big, just a living room, small kitchen, one bedroom, and a bathroom, so the source of the noise couldn't be far. But as I took each step, the sound seemed to shift, like it was moving away from me, but still inside. The scratching turned into a faint tapping. Tap, tap, tap. The rhythm wasn't random. It was almost like knocking. Hello. I called out, my voice sounding smaller than I intended. No answer. I pushed open my bedroom door. Everything looked exactly as I'd left it. Bed neatly made, clothes folded in a chair, curtains drawn halfway, so a soft strip of sunlight fell across the floor. No one was there. But when I stepped inside, I noticed something I hadn't before. The smell. It wasn't bad exactly, but it was wrong. A faint metallic tang in the air, mixed with something damp, like wet earth. I couldn't place it, but it didn't belong here. My eyes drifted to the closet. The door was closed, but I swear I remembered leaving it open earlier when I grabbed a sweater. I stood there for a moment, my pulse in my ears, debating whether to check. The tapping had stopped again. The silence felt alive. Finally, I reached for the handle. The door swung open without a sound. Nothing. Just my clothes hanging neatly, shoes lined up on the floor. I actually let out a short, nervous laugh. Maybe I was losing it after all. But then, I noticed something tucked in the back, half hidden under a winter coat. It was an envelope, old and yellowed at the edges, like it had been there for years. My name was written on it in neat, slanted handwriting. The hairs on my arms stood on end. No one else should have had access to my apartment. I live alone. I keep my doors locked. My family doesn't have spare keys. And yet, here it was. With trembling fingers, I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. The handwriting was the same, neat, deliberate. But the words made my mouth go dry. Stop looking for it. That was it. No signature. No explanation. Just those 4 words. I read it again and again, as if the meaning might somehow change. It didn't. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I wasn't looking for anything. Not until now. Whoever left this, Wanted to make sure I didn't start. That when the scratching sound came back. Only this time, it wasn't coming from the closet. It was coming from under my bed. I didn't move at first. I couldn't. My brain seemed to short-circuit, as if it needed a few extra seconds to accept what my ears were telling me. The sound was faint but deliberate, the slow, irregular scrape of something against the hardwood beneath my bed. I knelt down, my knees pressing into the carpet runner, and lowered my head just enough to peer into the shadows. At first, all I saw was darkness. The space under my bed has always been clutter-free. I'm one of those people who can't sleep knowing there's random junk beneath me. But the longer I stared, the more I realized it wasn't empty. 2 points of light, small, glinting, stared back at me. My breath caught in my throat. They weren't bright like animal eyes reflecting light, more like polished stones catching the faintest sliver of sunlight from the curtains. But they didn't blink. They just watched. I scrambled back so fast I nearly tripped over my own feet, my shoulders slamming into the nightstand and sending my phone clattering to the floor. My hands were shaking, my chest tight. My first instinct was to run, grab my keys, get out, call someone, but some part of me, the part that always has to know, rooted me in place. The scratching came again, louder this time, faster, like whatever was under there was moving toward the edge. The points of light shifted slightly. I grabbed the broom from the corner, holding it like some pathetic weapon, and crouched low again, pushing the handle toward the darkness. The bristles brushed against something solid. Not fur, not fabric, but hard and cold, like stone. Then, without warning, a hand shot out. It was pale, impossibly thin, the skin stretched too tightly over the bones. Long fingers wrapped around the broom handle with a grip so strong I felt it vibrate on my arms. I screamed, yanking the broom back with every ounce of strength I had. The hand retreated instantly, vanishing into the shadows, but I didn't wait to see what would happen next. I bolted, out of the bedroom, through the living room, keys in hand, my only thought, get out, get out, get out. I didn't stop running until I was outside, the late afternoon light now fading into that eerie blue-gray of early evening. My chest burned, my legs ached, but the air felt cleaner somehow, freer. I didn't even realize I'd left my phone behind until I was halfway down the street. I spent the night at a friend's place. I didn't tell them everything, just that I'd had a scare and didn't want to be alone. They laughed, teased me for being jumpy, but I couldn't shake the image of those unblinking eyes under my bed, or the feel of that hand gripping the broom. The next day, I worked up the nerve to go back. I told myself I'd grab my phone, maybe a few clothes, and stay somewhere else for a while. But when I walked into my apartment, something was different. The smell was gone. The air felt normal again. I went into my bedroom, heart pounding, and looked under the bed. Empty. The broom lay on the floor where I dropped it, the bristles bent, but nothing else was there. No note in the closet. No sound. Just silence. For a moment, I wondered if I'd imagined it all, some vivid waking nightmare brought on by stress. But then, as I turned to leave, I saw it. Sitting on my pillow was another envelope. The same yellowed paper, the same slanted handwriting. This time it read, "You looked for it.